The gentleman yields. I now recognize Mr. Burchett from Tennessee.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you for indulgence and allowing me to be on this committee. I come in here usually ticked off and I leave in worse condition, so thank you for that. If I ever have a counselor, I'm going to send you the bill. Mr. Hart, do any members of Congress, their spouses, or their immediate family have any property ownership rights to this property or any federal land?
Congressman, I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
Okay, do spouses of members of Congress own real property and lease it to the federal government? And how would we find that out? Because I think I know what you're going to say.
I believe the answer to that question is yes.
You do?
I do believe that.
Was there any way we could verify that information?
Well, you go to USA Spending and search, you open the books, our website, and you can look up members' names, you can look up any person's name, and find that information.
All right. I suspect that's being done as I speak.
In the United States, the federal government is one of the largest property owners in the world, controlling vast amounts of land, buildings, and leased office space across the country. Managing this enormous real estate portfolio effectively is crucial, not only to ensure efficient government operations, but also to safeguard taxpayer money. However, a long-standing concern has been the government's inability or unwillingness to properly track, assess, and manage these assets. In a recent congressional hearing, lawmakers and government officials engaged in a candid discussion about these issues. The conversation revealed several troubling realities. There is a serious lack of accurate data on how much federal property is underutilized. The government continues to spend billions annually on office leases, many of which may no longer be necessary, and efforts at transparency have been slow, inconsistent, and often untrustworthy. The hearing also spotlighted a broader philosophical debate: who really holds the government accountable for how public money is spent? Members of Congress stressed that transparency is not merely a bureaucratic goal, it is a fundamental responsibility.
Mr. Maroney, how much underutilized space does the federal government have?
Can't say there's not good data. We just don't have data. It's going to come this summer. Congress has now required it, but prior to this, once you get outside of headquarters, there wasn't measurement of how much the buildings
I hate these studies. Every day we vote on a new study, and I suspect there's some warehouse like in Raiders of the Lost Ark at the end where they're putting this, and our top people are looking at it, and there's these studies are just on these shelves in these vast warehouses. Would you agree with that assumption?
There are a lot of studies.
Yeah, all right. Remember, you're whatever. All right. How much would the federal government save by allowing unneeded leases to expire?
The federal government spends about $6 billion on leased office space, so depending on how many you let expire, you get substantial savings.
As I said up here, people chastise the thought of making a profit. To me, that's not an evil thing. That allows for more people to be employed. It seems that we have forgotten exactly who we work for, and it's the people back home who are struggling. When I was mayor of Knox County, one of the first things I did was I said, get me a list of all the property we own in Knox County. And it was amazing to me. I mean, we had property in neighborhoods. We had some of it was obviously undevelopable. So one was on the corner of a small airport. But it was all over. We had something listed as a park, and it was nothing further from a park. And we ended up selling a lot of this property, and we paid cash for schools, crazy things like that. We didn't stay in debt. And to me, that just seems like the model that the federal government should adopt. We should have a listing of the property, and the people ought to be able to review that and make better assumptions, because I think they're a lot more smarter than we give them credit for. And I suspect that's part of the problem. They don't want to let them look behind the curtain, so to speak. Would you agree with that?
It is important to have that kind of data. There is an inventory that's available online, but there are significant issues with this reliability.
Mr. Hart, would you care to address that?
We would like to enhance the transparency of all of that data. I think it's one of the most important assets that taxpayers should be able to review the cost so that they can make good decisions. And again, the purpose of transparency is to empower taxpayers. Transparency is not a two-way street. The government does not have the right to inspect our checkbook. Taxpayers do have the right to inspect the government's checkbook because it's their money.
Taxpayers, they argued, deserve a clear and detailed view of how government resources are being used, especially when those resources involve billions of dollars in real estate costs. Drawing from personal experience, one congressman compared the federal situation to his time as mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, where a simple inventory of county-owned properties led to major financial improvement. By selling off unneeded land and wisely reinvesting the proceeds, the county was able to fund public services without taking on additional debt. This local example serves as a model for how the federal government could approach its own property management challenges. Yet, despite bipartisan agreement on the importance of transparency and efficiency, deep frustration lingers. Many feel that Washington, D.C. remains bogged down by endless studies, bureaucracy, and political hesitation. As one lawmaker colorfully put it, reports on federal real estate management seem to pile up in warehouses like forgotten relics, rather than being used to drive real reform. In this broader context, the conversation isn't just about saving money, it's about restoring trust between the government and the people it serves. Ensuring that taxpayer dollars are spent wisely and that unused or wasted assets are put to better use remains a critical test of government accountability.
Mr. Kendall, would you care to offer your?
I'm all in favor of transparency. No objection.
It seems our friends in the media always strive for that, and then and we get pretty gutless up here. So I would hope in the future we would address that. So I'll yield my 49 seconds back to you, Chair Lady. Thank you for your indulgence, ma'am.